Hello everyone and welcome to another edition of my Become Unstoppable series. And as usual, I have amazing guests for you. But anyone who doesn't know me, my name is Julie Fitzpatrick and I'm the founder of Millerside Therapy and Coaching. And I work with individuals to help them unleash their true potential so that they can become unstoppable. And I teach them how to use their mind, how to use their imagination for the good. Because stress, anxiety, lack of confidence, etc. are all us using our imagination in a negative way. There she is! Hello, Sharon. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing great. Thank you, Julie. I am delighted to be here.
And for the second time, I hasten to add.
Well, you know what? We had such a great time the last time. I loved it. Had to come back.
And actually, you were probably one of my first guests when I started, because I was trying to think the other day about how the hell did I end up doing this. And I think it was probably from our business coaching where it was like, come on, here's some options you could do. Why don't you start a series? And at the time, it was my Women in the Prime, wasn't it? And it was like, you come on to talk about that. But also the internet wasn't very kind to us either. So it looked like you were some criminal, didn't it? Because you was all pixelated.
Let's hope we get it right today.
Yeah, and you're such a lovely guest and you're such a lovely lady. So Sharon, would you like to introduce yourself to our lovely guests on this show?
I would. So my name is Sharon McNulty from Joyful Spaces, and I am KonMari trained. So I'm trained by Marie Kondo, the Japanese tidying expert. So I go into homes and businesses and help them declutter and organize and transform their spaces.
Amazing. And we will talk about it later, but Sharon has actually helped me immensely in my office. So yeah, we will talk about that a little bit later. However, before we get into any type of conversation, Sharon, I'm going to ask you my question. What does being unstoppable mean to you?
For me, unstoppable is finding what I'm passionate about and the drive and determination that I go through to get there. And for me, it's being unstoppable until I get to the finishing line.
Love that. And we've probably known each other, I don't know, maybe 18 months, something like that. But I think it's been amazing watching your journey. And like I say, I've worked with you now, so we'll talk about that separately. But I've seen you grow, and I've seen and been through them obviously myself, because you go through that journey almost together, haven't we, of the highs and lows of being an entrepreneur and business owner, but also having had different careers, and then women in our prime, quitting those jobs to actually be entrepreneurs and actually follow our purpose and passion. So on that note, Sharon, do you want to just give us all a little update on how did you get where you are now? What drove you to do this job that you absolutely love, which is transforming people's lives, isn't it?
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. So at the moment, Julie, I'm a multi-award winning, internationally renowned professional organizer, and I am the highest level possible within the KonMari method.
No.
So I am master certified, and that's the equivalent really of having a black belt in organizing. And I travel globally. Yes, I travel globally, and I help clients transform their spaces. So I work one-to-one with them, and I've been doing so for the past 9 years and absolutely love it. And within my own home, everything is sitting beautifully, absolutely beautifully. I know I can put my hand on whatever it is I need. And it just sparks joy in my heart. Whenever I come home, my heart dances because I think this is a lovely space. But it wasn't always like that. So if I was to take you back about 9 years, 10 years now, I was a single mommy, 3 children, 3 fabulous children, but I was struggling really hard trying to keep on top of my home, my work life, and rear a family at the same time. Now, I was highly organised. I've always been organised, but I just had too much stuff. So I spent my time moving my stuff from one place to the next, and I thought I was tidying. That's what I was doing. I was just moving my stuff. And because I had so much, I didn't know how to let go of things. So I was quite overwhelmed. Anytime I started, I got into a messy middle, created a huge mess, and thought, oh, this can't be right. So I spent my time thinking about tidying, organizing. On the surface, it all looked beautiful, but in my cupboards was just bulging with stuff. And because it's so much, I either forgot I had it or couldn't find it, so I'd have to go out and buy it again. I was frustrated because I was spending my whole time looking for things, searching for things. I knew I had it, just couldn't find it. So if you think about, my vibrations were quite low then because I was irritated, I was frustrated, and I knew life didn't have to be that hard. So I went, and as for my clothes, my goodness me, I had all these clothes, but it's still nothing to wear. Yeah. I was squeezing the stuff into work.
I do that I'm going out and I'm like flicking through all this stuff and I don't like it, get rid of it then. No,
just in case.
Just in case. Or it doesn't quite fit, it's just a tiny little bit tight. But I'll not grow into it, but
yes. I'll slim down. And plus then, I was just so overwhelmed. I kept on to anything because I kept hold of everything because I didn't know if I could afford it again. So I thought, no, I can't. It would be a waste to let it go. It would be a waste to let it go. So I thought, right, okay, I need to do something. And I came upon Marie Kondo's book on organizing your home. And it just resonated with me, Julie. It was the book that transformed my life. It really was. And I put into practice what she said. And it really did transform it. So I had the most fabulous home. I really had. After I put all into practice. And it really made such a difference that I thought, right, I need to share this with people. And I went away and I was trained by her in London and absolutely loved it. Marie Kondo is the most beautiful, genteel soul. So I absolutely loved it. And then, since I've qualified with her, I then have worked my way up through the ranks so that I'm now her highest level, the master certified. Now, before that, I was a midwife for 20 years in the neonatal unit and a health visitor for the last couple. And I had no intention of leaving because I loved what I did. But what I know is so magical that I knew I had to share it with others. And it's so new to us, Julie. It's really just finding its feet now. And it's not about rearranging the dishcloths. This is more transformative. This is it's not about the stuff. It's about how the stuff makes us feel.
Absolutely.
And for me, whenever I'm going into clients who are overwhelmed, who just can't get started or just making bigger messes, I know that just by doing this particular system that I have, it just makes life so much easier for them.
Yeah. And I think there is that tidy mind, when you feel stressed and your office is a mess or your house is a mess or your life feels like it's a mess.
Yeah.
Then it does impact you, doesn't it? It really, really does. And I think we probably all had a time when we have had that moment where we've done a spring clean, whether it be your kitchen cupboards or your wardrobe. And after you've done it, you just feel so good about yourself, don't you? Like,
yeah.
Oh my God, that was amazing.
Yeah.
And well, we will talk about working together in a minute. But one of the things when Sharon helped me was shredding. I was shredding all my old corporate life stuff because I quit my corporate life after 35 years in December last year. And as I sat there with my shredder, I was going, oh, it was, dare I say, quite orgasmic, if I'm honest. It was so lovely.
Cathartic. Yeah.
It was. And I just, and I didn't care.
Yeah.
And I was I couldn't have been further detached from it if I tried, but it actually felt so good.
It was a necessary ending.
It was. It felt like, obviously it was part of clearing and tidying, but it just felt like I got closure.
Yeah.
On that side of my life. I mean, it doesn't matter. I've probably got them all on my PC somewhere anyway, but that's beside the point. This was just example packs, you know, greeting packs and stuff like that. And I just thought, you know what? Why would I need this?
Yeah.
I am never going back to the corporate world, not in that sense anyway. I might go back to the corporate world and do the world that I'm in now, teaching people to become unstoppable, but I'm certainly not going back to the corporate world to do project management and all that kind of stuff like I used to do. And it just felt like it was formal closure, formal acceptance that was then, this is now, and I don't really want any more of that. Thank you very much.
Yeah, it's a new phase of your life. And what happens is, whenever you have all that stuff around you, and you'll know this, Julie, even though you don't think it's annoying you, or you think it's fine, it's sitting in a cupboard there, all that stuff that needed shredded, your mind has to multitask whenever it knows all that stuff is around you. And this is when you lose concentration, you lose focus, you lose clarity, because your mind is trying to figure out what to do with all this stuff sitting around you. So by physically putting them into the shredder, your mind was saying, oh, thanks be to goodness, that's that sorted. And then you can concentrate. So there has been studies showing, actually, once you do this, once you do it through a system that you do it properly, you will be able to focus more, concentrate harder, and are more productive and efficient.
Well, while I think of it and why we're kind of in this mode, I just wanted to take now as an opportunity to actually do you a testimonial, Sharon, because I haven't actually done one yet, and I promised you that I would. So now seems to be like a really good opportunity to do that. So in the office that I'm sitting in now, I spend most of my life in, but it's a nice office. It's a nice size office, but it just wasn't, when I walked in every morning, it just wasn't doing anything for me really. I was like, walk in, and I always had stuff all over my desk. I mean, I was relatively tidy, but I mean, God forbid, I've got a big bookcase and it was full of books, but I now know that was a completely wrong thing to do. But my desk was facing the wall, which I now know was the wrong thing to do. But I had stuff on the floor. I couldn't find anything. My filing cabinets were just chock-a-block. I couldn't find anything in those either, if I'm honest. And it just wasn't serving me well. And then you did a session one day, and I thought, you know what, I'm going to come along to it. And I'm so glad I did, because we actually worked together completely online. And what Sharon asked me to do was to do a video without tidying, warts and all, to do a video. And then we got on a Zoom link, and then she talked me through what I needed to do. And I think the biggest transformation was, well, no, there's lots of transformations, but one of the things was sorting out my paperwork. And it was all about putting it into piles, and if it put a yes, a no, and if it takes longer than 2 or 3 minutes, put it in the middle. I did all that, and if I had got it all out, I didn't. I shredded it as I went because I knew the overwhelm would have got to me. But if I hadn't have done it as I went, I know it would have gone. It would have filled this room, and it was only once. The cupboard wasn't that big, and you'll be so surprised how much stuff is actually in there, which is really scary. So doing that was lovely. But then we moved, with the help of my husband, we moved the office around, and now you can't really see, but now I've got my desk in the middle of the room, and I've got my bookcase does have some books in it, but it's not full, and I've got lovely flowers, real flowers. The whole room feels lovely, and it looks so much nicer. And when I come in the mornings, I say, morning office. And I feel so much better about coming in here. So I just really like to say thank you so much, Sharon. It literally has transformed my life. And I know that sounds like really dramatic, but I didn't, like I say, it's made me want to be in here. It makes me want to crack on and get some stuff done. And I've got my inspirational board up there where I've got all my things to remind me that I am amazing. I am grateful for my life. What can I do to serve today? All this good stuff. But it just, and when people see it, they go, oh my God, your office is amazing, but just not facing the wall, just the whole of it. And it might to some people sound like, well, that's not a lot, but I wouldn't have done it. I didn't know that's what I needed to do. And what's great about it is once you learn how to do it, you can do it throughout the whole of your house. So thank you, my darling black belt, Sharon, for your coaching and support.
Oh, Julie, that is so lovely to hear. And I'm smiling whenever you said that you were facing your wall. Just for
Mm.
anybody that wants to know. So, and I find this a lot actually, because you don't want to be sitting in the middle of a room. Most people, whenever I'm organising their office, will have their desk pushed up against the wall. And the first thing I'll say to them is, would a CEO sit and face a wall? And the answer
No.
is no. They're back in the room, they're in the command position, so that means furthest away from the door, but still looking at the door. You can still see the door, maybe at a diagonal. And even just doing that takes back a bit of control. That gives you I suppose if you're thinking about feng shui, it's absolutely phenomenal. So simply by bringing your desk back into the room makes a whole world of difference. And then you don't feel that you're missing all this stuff that's happening behind you. You can see everything that's happening in the room. So that was brilliant. And I love your background now, actually, Julie.
Yeah, well, I tidied my shelves, didn't I? And but also I can now see out the window. Not that there's much going on, but before I kind of had to sort of go backwards to see what was going on. So yeah, I do. I have that. Not that there's anyone in here most of the time, but me anyway. But it's nice, and I had when I see my clients. If a lot of them I do on Zoom anyway, but if I do have them face to face, I've got a summer house which I do my face to face work down there. But I had one client that was coming in for a shorter coaching session recently, and I just brought another chair in and did it in here because it's so cold down in summer house. It would have taken me ages to heat it, and I thought before I wouldn't have even dreamt of bringing them in here because I was too embarrassed, if I'm honest. But now I'm not embarrassed by it, and it's really, really lovely. And mentally, it really, really has helped because I don't have that feeling of, like when you come in and I'll be like this. Where's that bit? I know I had that somewhere. Is it on the floor? Is it in my drawer? And the funny thing is, if I find myself getting a little bit untidy, I stop and I go, oh God, I don't do this because if Sharon finds out, she'll go nuts.
I'm like your accountability partner. I don't even need to be there.
No. So, no, it's really good. So I would highly recommend if anyone wants your help to actually reach out to you because it truly is amazing.
Oh, thank you.
But let's get back to you more. Let's hear a bit more about your unstoppable story. So what was it like being a midwife? What made you kind of feel that being, you're doing your Marie Carey thing was going to be better or something that you really wanted to do over being a midwife?
Well, isn't it interesting now? I suppose the latter part, I think maybe the last 8-9 years of I was 31 years in the NHS, and the last 8 or 9 were as a health visitor. And I loved it, Julie. I loved going into see the babies and the mums postnatally. However, I know I'm helping people in a different way. The difference in one session with this is phenomenal. And I was just out with a beautiful client this morning, myself and one of the other team members. And the difference we made to her in one session, I couldn't replicate that as a health visitor. I just couldn't. It's just, I think it's whenever you get it, you really get this, that it's actually decluttering our mind. But I'm just guiding you how to do it and how to do it so that you don't have to keep doing it. So for me as a health visitor, I loved it and I loved the babies and the mums, but this is so different. And this is something that every single person needs to know, from children right up. Now, I've worked with loads of age groups, but children love this because they love the boundaries, they love the structure, and it also takes away the pressures from the mums because the mums then don't have to run after the children. And I have a wee great niece. My niece is a wee girl, but she's so beautiful. She is the joy of our lives, and she loves to fold. Now, it must have been, I would say, well over a year ago. She's 4.5 now. I would say she was about 3 whenever I taught her how to fold. And now, not that she's folding all the time, don't get me wrong, but whenever I was showing her, she loved it so much that whenever I was actually getting tired of, she was saying, let's fold some more, Sharon, let's fold some more. Now we were folding the same clothes, but it just shows you they love it.
Yeah.
They love the structure. So you imagine if a 3-year-old child can fold their clothes, you're really giving them the independence, and you're letting them make the decisions when it doesn't really matter. So these children grow up to know how to make decisions, to be confident in the decision making, plus you're giving them life skills. So I think it's so important.
That helps with the toys as well, doesn't it? Like, you know, like being really good with putting their toys away. And
yeah, definitely. Because once they go to school, they tidy at school, and then the same children come home and they tip it out onto the floor. Generally, now I know I am generalizing, but this is what my clients are telling me. And they just tip out. And there was studies done actually on children, and they where they were put into a real orderly room and a chaotic room with the toy box overflowing. And it was to see how long they could concentrate. And the children same child actually, it was the same group of children, just in 2 different days and 2 different environments. And the concentration, the focus, and even they were starting to fall out with each other in the chaotic one, in the chaotic room. They would just go in and they would tip out the toys out of the toy box, rush to the next one, tip them out. So within a matter of minutes, they had chaos ensued. Whereas whenever you put the same children into the table, and there was only 3 things on the table, and they concentrated for so much longer. So it's not even just aesthetic. This is what children need. It really is, for their wee brains to be able to function.
Do you know what, Sharon? I think for the children is phenomenal, right? But think about the parents, right? Now, I work with a lot of business owners, professional working mums, right? But the thing is, with every single client that I have, the most common thing, without fail, I would say 100%, right? One of their presenting issues is stress and overwhelm. Okay. So imagine how you could reduce your stress and overwhelm by having your children, teaching your children to be tidy and to be organised, but to also do that yourself. And like you said earlier, all that moving things from one place to the next, and it just does your head in, doesn't it? And in the end, you go, and just throw it away. Not throw it away, but throw it to the side. And then when it's cluttered, it takes longer to clean. You know, even if you've got a cleaner, you've got to clean to let the cleaner come in, right? So it's about keeping on top of it, isn't it? And having it semi-tidy. I mean, you want to be living, but being organised is... I mean, another example actually was my father's, right? I've got my client cupboard and I've got my personal cupboard. And because my client cupboard was relatively new, and I wanted to do some other things before I filed them away because I wanted to log them properly and stuff like that. But they were just thrown in the drawer. Oh my God, do you think I could find a file? And that would stress me out when I'm preparing for a client. Oh my God, you know, just so even in your workspace, now I've got them all alphabetically in line. It didn't take me that long in the end. It's just because I was stopping myself because of the other job I needed to do with it. But I could have just filed them really. And that was another thing about having you on the end, wasn't it? Because I said, I've done everything else apart from my client files. And we agreed that you wasn't going to sign me off until I'd done my client files. Because I knew if you let me off the hook, I probably still wouldn't have done them. Right? But it would have been annoying me because it would be another plate. Because I don't know about a lot of people out there, male or female, right? We get busy, and we get busy being busy, right? So I'm never happier unless I've got multiple plates spinning. Now, I've since learned that that's probably some sort of ism or something, right? But if you do something and actually finish it, you can take the plate away.
That's right. You've less plates to spin.
Spinning. And even though I knew I only had one job left, that plate was still spinning above my head. And then once I actually got off my backside and just cracked on with it, it was done. And I could take that plate down, and then I could really enjoy being in my office.
And that's it. You got a system that worked for you. It worked beautifully, didn't it?
Yeah. But I do think it's important though, because we are full of, our lives now are just full of stress and overwhelm, right? But obviously we have to listen to the language we're using and not convince ourselves that we're totally stressed and overwhelmed. But as I said, every client I work with, that's the first thing that they come up with. And I teach them different tools and techniques to help calm them, and obviously work with them to uncover their limiting beliefs, etc. But that is keeping your office space or your home tidy. It just, I don't know, it just takes a lot of that away, a lot of that stress and overwhelm away.
It does, because the clutter itself is what gives us stress, what gives us overwhelm. So if you sort that out, you've absolutely reduced that dramatically. And then they can come to you then, Julie, for the stuff that they need to work through.
Yeah.
That's absolutely.
And it is literally a declutter of your mind, isn't it?
Yeah.
And sorting it out. But yeah, I mean, I think a lot of us are guilty of just taking on too much, just doing and doing and doing. And I actually realise, because I still do therapy work now on myself, and so that I can learn from my clients. But one of my biggest issues was I was do, and not very good at keeping that balance of learning to be present and learning to actually feel. Because when we're continually on the go, there isn't any room for stopping, and therefore we're not feeling. And I now realise that was probably a superpower, but I was lucky that superpower didn't come and crash me to the floor, because a lot of people, it will. And I suppose over time there was times when my wheels did fall off, but because I just kept on going, I just wasn't stopping to feel. And that's what I'm loving about my journey that I'm on now, is that I'm turning off the doing a little bit, still on quite high, because as a business owner, you know, trying to, especially all in on my first year of being a business owner, I do need to have that doey masculine energy, but I'm definitely bringing that balance down now, because it's about learning to breathe, learning to listen to the language I'm telling myself, having done all the uncovering all my limited beliefs, which basically were that I thought I wasn't good enough, so I shouldn't be seen and shouldn't be visible. And now I don't believe that at all. And I love it, because I wouldn't be doing this. You know, I wouldn't be running my Unstoppable program, because that was based on me. It was like, I feel like I'm unstoppable now, which I never would have done before. I mean, is there elements that you feel like that for yourself?
Oh, without a shadow of a doubt. And you know what? Whenever you were just saying there, you are amazing, Julie. And I know you may have felt like that, but I have heard so many people within our own business circle who absolutely say you have smashed it with them. So you have actually pushed them out of their comfort zone and got them unstoppable. And yet, isn't it just lovely now where you can sit back and think, gosh, the difference you made in their lives.
Oh, thanks, darling, for saying that. That's sweet. Yeah, it is really sweet. And actually, in our business mastermind this week, we had a special guest, didn't we? Caprice, who, well, the younger listeners probably won't have heard of, but she's still super successful, actually. She is an unstoppable businesswoman, isn't she? But back in the 90s, probably, she was really famous then as one of the supermodels, and she was everywhere, wasn't she? Yeah. And she kept saying to us in there that, you know, in life, if you want something, you have to go out and ask for it, and don't take no for an answer. So I asked her, should come on my Instagram Live series. So she sent me in the direction of a PR agent who she said to email. So I've sent the email. So if you're listening, please contact me, because I'd love to have you as a guest, because she was absolutely unstoppable, wasn't she?
She was. And you know what? You would be perfect as the host. You really would.
I'm pretty sure she probably would have interviewed me as well. But the point being, the old me never would have even had the courage to even say it. But I was like, what's the worst that's going to happen? She'll say no.
That's right.
Or it just won't happen, but it doesn't matter, does it? It's the fact that it's about pushing yourself out of the comfort zone. And actually, that was something else we had reminded of us on Monday as well, wasn't it, with Jim? It was about, you know, you can live in fear and live in your comfort zone. So you could be quite happy in the life that you're in, comfortable, but the thought of doing anything outside of that scares the pants off you, because that's your fear element. But actually, if you don't step out of your comfort zone and go in, in an upwards direct trajectory, then you're going to end up living in regret. And I thought that was so powerful, wasn't it? So if you stay in your comfort zone, you're going to go, as you get older, you're just going to probably look back and regret things that you never did, wish you had done. But if you just push through that fear and push yourself outside of your comfort zone, then you're going to be going upwards into amazing things.
That's what the priest was saying as well. She says, don't fear fear.
Yeah.
Just do it. Do it. Do it, was what she said.
Exactly. And actually, there's a good link in there. Thanks, Sharon. I'm running webinars at the moment, free webinars, and I'm teaching people how to unleash the power of their imagination, right? Because fear, stress, anxiety, anything like that, that is us using our imagination in a negative way. So if you imagine like, oh my God, I can't go and do that, or go for that interview. I can't go for that interview. What if they don't like me? What if I'm a disaster? What if, right? Using your imagination to think of all these things that could happen. But imagine instead that you went there with the thought of, oh my God, I'm going to go and do this interview. I am amazing. I really love my experience. I can do this standing on my head, or or whatever. I'll be amazing at this. And go to the interview with that positive mindset. Use your imagination to imagine what questions they're going to ask. Visualize what it's going to look like. Visualize yourself getting that phone call to say you got the job. Visualize yourself in that job. Use your imagination for you. It's the most powerful tool we've got.
Yeah.
I get a bit passionate, sorry.
I know. And you run these webinars then, Julie. But I understand why. So you're running webinars for that.
So I can teach people the power of their imagination.
Right.
So if anyone's interested, just message me, or if you're watching this on Instagram, in my bio, you'll be able to find it there at different times. I don't have a set time. I'm just running them some evening, some daytime, just so it mixes it up a little bit, so that people can, eventually find a slot that works for them. And it is free. It's about an hour, but it's really powerful because it's just showing you some really basic things that, unless you're in this industry, you don't know. And I think it's really important, and if we can learn to tap into our minds and really understand it a little bit more, imagine what your life could look like. Yeah. And that's how I work with my clients, actually. A lot of what I do with the hypnosis, but also the future pacing, it's all, what would you say they come with anxiety, for example? Well, we go through preparation call, trying to, work out what it is you really want to resolve. But what would your life be like if you didn't have anxiety? Imagine what you could be doing. Where would you be going? What holidays would you be? Do you know what I mean? And really getting that imagination working for you. And then we go in and find the deep-rooted limiting beliefs and get rid of them. So you can become unstoppable.
Because what you think about, you bring about.
Absolutely.
So if you're imagining the end goal being fabulous and what you're expecting, that's what you'll be working towards.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's the same thing when we set goals. It's no good just writing them on a bit of paper and then putting them back in the drawer, right? You have to really think about what it is you really want. But then you have to do, this is where meditation comes in as well, right? I don't think a lot of us use meditation for the right reason. I never did. And it was only a comment one of my clients said once. I said, do you meditate? And he went, yeah, but I don't really know why. And I went, I get what you're saying, because sometimes I would have been guilty of doing it and to put a tick in the box to say that, oh, get me. I meditated today. But actually, if you use meditations for what it's really for, it's like, well, I don't know about what it's really for, but a way to use it is to really set your intention before you go into that meditation and visualize what it is you're trying to solve. Or if you are setting your goals, then don't just say, I want to be a successful business owner. What does that mean? Be specific. See yourself in 6 months, a year, 10 years, right? Visualize what that looks like. See yourself, you know, for me, it was like, I want to be a successful business owner, transforming lives, but I want to get my group program out there, which is in progress now. I want to speak on stages. I want to win awards. I see myself doing retreats, and I see myself, you know, and it's about, and when I'm laying there, I'm like, I can see myself doing it. But your brain doesn't know the difference between what is real and what is imagined. So rather than use your imagination to fear things and to stress about things and panic about things that are probably never going to happen, instead use it to really transform your life.
Yeah.
And it's all free as well, isn't it? It's all in here.
For me, the default was always going back to that. But the more I work on my mind, the more I do mindset work, it is just phenomenal. My goodness. It's actually really powerful. And as you say, it's free. You just have to keep doing the work. Just put the work in and, oh, wow. And just enjoy the rewards then.
Yeah, I mean, the problem is sometimes we can read all the books, we can do all the meditations, we can listen to the language we're using, we can all of that kind of stuff, which is absolutely important. But sometimes we do need to reach out for help, because if you've got deep-rooted limiting beliefs, to get the best out of your life, you need to find them and get rid of them. And when I work with my clients, we get to the root. So you could have a root belief that I'm not good enough, but that could be involved making you feel anxious. That could make you have lack of confidence. And if you're feeling anxious all the time and you're lacking in confidence, then you don't really believe in yourself, right? So putting yourself out there to do other things might not be something you want to do. That might then lead into procrastination. So the fear they're all fear-based. So they were, every time you go to do something, they'll be, no, that doesn't feel right. And what a lot of us are not good at, and this was me included, was receiving. So when we receive compliments, or to actually go out, I don't know about you, Sharon, but because we've worked in industries that for somebody else, right, we got our salary, but to actually go out there and sell your business and actually ask for money, it's like, because it's valuing yourself, isn't it, and valuing what you do and the results that you can achieve. And that's why we have to invest in our self-development. And if you want to be a successful business owner, then you need to invest in business coaches too, because how the hell are you going to get there without it? You can get there relatively quickly, or you can spend years and years trying to do it and maybe never actually getting there.
I call that taking the scenic route, Julie.
Like that.
And I suppose for me, coming into business, I had no business experience. I was an employee for 31 years. So I knew I didn't want to take the scenic route. I wanted to get to the finish line, or whatever the finish line was going to be, as quickly as possible. So you're right. I invest in myself so that I then show up better for my clients. And I definitely, for me, it was a big thing actually handing over money initially, because I thought, well, sure, I could read this and I could do this, and YouTube I could find out. And I did try that for a wee while, but I quickly realized, no. So I've actually had a mentor since the very beginning of my business. Some of them were paid, some of them weren't paid, and some of them came from government funding or whatever, but they have been invaluable to me to get me this far, definitely.
Yeah, for sure. For me as well. I mean, don't get me wrong, I've never had maxed out credit cards before like I do now, but I know it's a good investment. And you know, I've set the groundwork, it's all coming. And also, I think what's important, even as little as a few months ago, especially after Lufa died, Lufa was huge, I don't want to say learning curve. I suppose it was a learning curve, but it was also transformational for me, because I was grieving for him whilst everything else, it still makes me emotional now, but he actually taught me to feel. And I don't mean like I couldn't cry before. I could cry before. I could cry watching, I don't know, something on telly, right? But to actually connect with my body, I couldn't do before. And one of my clients registered a star in Lufa's name. And one day when I was on one of my therapy training sessions, we do like grounding, and they said like, I want you to imagine you're looking up into the sky and you find your favourite star. And I was like, oh, I've got my own star.
Yeah.
I've got my loofah star. And once I started doing that, all of a sudden I could start connecting. And we were doing a process which was about feeling safe in your heart. And you find a colour, you find a shape. And I made it loofah's colour. And I imagined that his face was like hanging over me like it used to when he was like all his cheeks, you know, right? And then I could spread, you know, you spread it around your body, that feeling of happiness, and it was lovely. And now I can do it. And I was like, he taught me that, you know. And it's like things happen in life that we don't want to happen sometimes, but like when I got made redundant from my job in the middle of the pandemic, at the time it was like, oh my God, but it was the best thing that ever happened. And sometimes we have to understand that to grow as a person, stuff, I was going to swear then, but stuff has to happen.
Yeah.
And at the time we might not appreciate it, and maybe we won't ever appreciate it in some cases, but there's always a lesson to learn from it, isn't there?
Yeah.
And
Julie, very interestingly, you were saying about the feeling. For me, that was the missing connection whenever I started all this gratitude and all the morning work. I could have went through my gratitude list, but it was a tick list. It's same with the meditation. But once you get the feeling part of it, for me, that's the important bit.
Absolutely.
You need to feel it, and that's what Luther brought to you. That feeling that.
Yeah, absolutely. So with everything, you know, with every cloud, I suppose there is a silver lining in that sense. Yeah. And since then, actually, I go to a yoga class on a Thursday morning, and one of my clients, Ellie, she runs it. She's beautiful, Yoga Flow of Ellie. She's lovely. And there's a lady there who's also a therapist, but she's more of a medium and a spiritualist and things like that. And one day I went there and she told me that Luther was there telling me that, because his back legs completely went and he was, you know, he couldn't walk in the end. And she said, oh, Luther's here, he's touching his back legs and he's telling me to tell you to say it doesn't hurt anymore. I can imagine I was a complete basket case. But, and since then as well, apparently there's been a spirit guide going around and she sat next to me on another time. So whether people believe in all of this stuff or not, right? I do. I don't understand it, I must admit, but I do believe in it. But I think because I'm in a different stage of my life and I am actually opening my heart now to this spirit world, to this, well, it's not only just that actually, it's about tapping into your heart, feeling safe and secure, and tapping into your intuition and trusting to listen to your heart, because your heart is the most powerful, well, outside of your brain, but you know, like we say, like my head says this, my heart says this. The heart should win every time, because that is the true essence. We should always listen to our heart, because this can be our ego sometimes, and we might do things that we think we should do rather than we want to, or the heart's feeling.
Plus, our gut is another one, Julie.
Yeah, because your gut is another form of your brain, really. But heart should always overwin. Yeah, you went then, didn't you?
Yeah, I did. Sorry. So I was saying, I listen to my gut as well, my gut feeling, because that's an important one. Yeah,
but it's as I said when you went a bit funny on that. Then it's like, it is another form of brain, your gut, because it's all connected, and the whole mind, body, and soul, it is truly connected. Yeah. And this is another thing: when we don't release our feelings and emotions from our body, and the body is your subconscious mind, and it will store them. And that's when it manifests into psychological or physical conditions. A lot of physical conditions are where we are holding unreleased feelings and emotions, and probably from your childhood, or from way back when. And once you start getting into this, it is a whole new world. And how you can help people release themselves from this just in one session, it's just phenomenal.
Yeah, and that's the beauty of it. it's not needing to hold on to that. Therefore, you can just let it go, and let it go with gratitude.
Yes, and that's where yours is the same, isn't it?
Yeah.
Where you're letting go.
Yeah.
You know. And it always makes me laugh when we were working together. My husband had a certificate on that shelf, didn't he? And he said, "What's that certificate?" I said, "Oh, it's Andy's." And he went, "Does it bring you love?" And I went, "No." She said, "Well, hand it back to him." And what I loved about it even more was that Sharon did me like a workbook, and it had all the tasks in it that I needed to do, loads of pictures. It was really made easy, but one of the items was hand Andy's certificate back to him. So I did. I said, "I'm sorry, Andy, but this doesn't fill me with love, so it can't be in my office."
You could tell him you would have held on to him, only that you were ticking my boxes. Exactly. You were going through that.
Sharon said, "Oh, I can't have it in it anymore." So yeah, that was quite funny. But yeah, it's so true though, because you just hold on to things just because someone give it to you, or you feel guilty. But actually, if it doesn't make you feel good, or in fact does the opposite and makes you go every time you see it,
away it goes.
Let it go. Let it go.
Let it go, and that's it. Let it go with love.
Oh yeah,
there was a reason it came in. There's a reason it came into your life, but you don't need to hold on to everything.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So everybody watching, those who have got a kitchen cupboards full of crap, you've got wardrobes full of crap, house full of crap, you need to get hold of Sharon.
Yeah, and we'll let it go with love and gratitude.
Let it go with love. Yeah.
Yeah.
We've still got to work on the rest of the house, mind you, but
at least, that's why people tend to get overwhelmed, because they think, where will I even start? But what I would say is start in one place, the place that will make the difference in your life, the place that is really challenging. Get it, and then, as you say, you've learned the skills, and then just take that to the next place and the next place and the next place, because it is a system, and the system means you don't have to keep going over the same thing all the time.
Yeah, and it is good. And when my son come back from uni, actually, because he's come back properly now, and I'm super proud of him because he's got his masters and everything now. But so you can imagine, he was away on and off for 5 years, and then he came back, and I was like having palpitations. So I took everything out of it, because it was just after I'd done my office, or in the process of doing my office. I took everything out of his wardrobes and put it in another room, and he was not allowed to bring anything back until we'd gone through all that other stuff, we'd washed everything, because you know what they're like with their cleanliness at uni. It all had to be washed, and then and only then was he allowed to bring it all back in. And he had a time of his life clearing out stuff, because he hadn't touched his wardrobes for at least 5 years, because if not longer. So he actually, it took him a long time, which did get a little bit, I was like, "Have you not done it yet?" I'm taking my time. I went,
he was doing it well.
But to be fair to him, he did do it, and he absolutely felt amazing afterwards as well. And we got rid of so much stuff, out of the house, and that made us all feel good, especially when it was sitting all in a spare room for about a week. And it was like, well, longer than that probably, and we were like, I had to keep shutting the door because it made me feel a bit uneasy. But it was all for the good, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely recommend it. Now, on that note, my darling, we do need to go. I could talk to you for hours. I know. But we do need to let these lovely people go and get on with their lives, and go and have a think about, how do they need to clear their minds? Whether they need to come and work with me or come and work with you, we don't mind.
Yeah.
Bit of both.
Yeah. No matter what they do, it will make a huge difference in their lives. But do something. Absolutely do something. Don't sit where you are thinking about it, worrying about it. Just do something, and you will make the world of difference in your life. It really will.
Exactly. And just before you go, Sharon, have you got anything coming up, or do you want to tell them how they can find you?
Yeah, so my business is Joyful Spaces, and so I'm on Instagram under Joyful Spaces, and my website is joyfulspaces.co.uk. And thank you so much to everybody who has watched, who has sent beautiful messages.
Yeah,
it's been absolute, and we have seen them coming in. Thank you very, very much.
We don't read them out very often because sometimes it's very difficult trying to talk, listen, read. I do your way. That's about as far as they can go.
Yeah, but it's lovely to see, and it really is, and we really do.
Thank you ever so much. And this, as you know, will be repurposed onto my YouTube channel, which is Millerside Therapy and Coaching, where you can see all of my Become Unstoppable interviews and all the interviews that I've done with my clients who've kindly come on and done an interview like this as well, which is amazing. And their short client testimonials and a few other bits and bobs on there. So get yourself over there, Millerside Therapy and Coaching. Please subscribe, get my numbers up, and watch some of the other interviews. And if you are someone who feels like they are truly unstoppable and you would like to come on here as well, please message me and we can have that discussion. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time when I'll have yet another wonderful guest for you on my Become Unstoppable series. Thanks, everyone. Have a brilliant rest of the day. Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.